Good morning, everyone. How are we doing on Saturday morning? Good. We've got a lot of thumbs up. Thank you so much for joining me today for our third episode of Book and Cook. I'm here in Trinity United Methodist Church. I'm here with Kelly from Evansville Vanderbilt Public Library, and we're really excited to cook with you this morning. Has everyone started to read or already read this book, Zips and Elu Make Hummus? What did you guys think of the book? Does anyone want to share? No, you don't want to share. If you want to unmute, you can.
Loved it. I loved it.
That's awesome. I thought it was a really silly, funny book.
So did I.
Yeah, it was good. It was funny in bits, and it also showed us how to make a really good food.
Yeah.
It was really funny.
It was really funny. I enjoyed it. I like when we do some of these like comic style or graphic novel type books. And we're going to use a lot of these ingredients today, but we're going to mix it up and we are not going to make hummus. I hope that you can make hummus with the recipe in the back of the book and you're going to be familiar with a lot of the ingredients because we're going to use them today in just a little bit different way. So can you also raise your hand if you've had hummus before? And did you guys have a regular hummus with usually has garlic, or have you had a flavored hummus? And if you've had a flavored hummus, maybe share what kind of flavor. Does anyone want to share? Lawrence was like, no.
What was the question?
Well, sometimes there's different flavored hummuses, and I was wondering if anyone had had a different flavor than just like garlic or lemon.
I've tried chocolate hummus.
Chocolate hummus. I have.
It was really weird.
I used to make and you can actually eat it with apples. And then I've also had a red pepper hummus or a beet hummus, which is pink. So there's a lot of different flavors out there.
Upstairs.
Too.
Why is it upstairs?
You guys did not mute this.
All right, awesome. So yeah, we're gonna get started today. We're gonna make roasted chickpeas and zucchini. And so we're gonna use, like I said, a lot of the same ingredients that you use to make hummus, but in a little different way. So we're gonna get really familiar with ingredients like lemon, tahini, olive oil, and garbanzo beans that are also called chickpeas. So to get started, I already have my oven set to 425, but if you have a parent around and you're cooking along with us today, please set your oven to 425. And I also went ahead and rinsed my vegetables. And so if you haven't done that yet, just take a few minutes to wash your hands and rinse your vegetables so you're all ready to get started on the cutting board. Got some hand washing going. Awesome. And the first thing we're going to do is use a can opener. So if you, once again, if you have a parent around or if you're comfortable using a can opener, that'll be the first thing we get started on in a second here. I see some people are comfortable. Can openers can be difficult to use. So you kind of have to press them in the side of the can and turn the knob all the way. At the church here, we actually have an electric can opener. I don't know if any of you have one of those at home where you just put the can under it and it opens it for you. But I typically use one with my hand. And so you're going to see all this liquid inside. And the first thing we're going to do is drain that out. I often actually use some of this liquid to make hummus. But today we don't need it for our recipe. There's also some other recipes that this liquid actually has a really interesting name called aqua fava. And some people use it even in dessert because of having certain things in it. It allows it, when it's whipped, to become like frothy and stiff, almost like whipping cream. Kind of interesting. Or foamy.
Do we put it in the small bowl or in the medium bowl?
So I'm just draining it because I'm not next to a sink, but you can either drain it in the sink, or if you have drained it in the bowl, you can just toss that into the sink. I'm just using this as kind of my little garbage bowl. But then we're gonna put that into the medium mixing bowl where all the vegetables are gonna go. So your larger one. I have to admit, you're doing a good job. I see you got your chickpeas in the bowl. Awesome. This is my favorite chickpea brand. Just so you know, they do vary depending on brand. And I just always find these to be cooked perfectly. And I buy these at Aldi. It just happens to be my favorite brand. I try them at every grocery store because it's one of my favorite things to cook. I can even eat one of these raw. So if you're interested, you can try it with just no seasoning or anything like that. It's already cooked. And it doesn't really have a strong flavor to it. And so what's cool about chickpeas is that any flavor that you put on it really soaks into them. And when you roast them, it almost tastes like a potato chip. So like I said, you can put all different seasonings on it. And that's why the recipe is a little bit flexible. Did anyone try this mushy chickpea? What did you think about it? Pretty good? No, not a fan. That's okay. They do taste a little bit earthy, so if you're not used to it, my dog actually really likes to taste with them too. She knows when I open a can of chickpeas. She knows the smell now, which is kind of funny. All right, now that you've got your chickpeas in a bowl, we're gonna move to the zucchini. Some of you have one large zucchini, and then some of you might have two if they were a little bit smaller. So I'm gonna focus on kind of my two mediums. Some have two, some have one. And like the recipe says, we're gonna cut these. First, we're gonna take off the top and the bottom, those little parts that just aren't as good, you know. And then you're gonna be really careful. What I'm gonna ask you to do is kind of just cut it in half lengthwise. And so you just have to be very careful and have your fingers on both sides and use that knife all the way through, really controlled. You don't have to do it fast. And just try to do it all the way down the center. So you may need some help if your zucchini is really large too, because we don't really use that big of knives here. And sometimes it can be hard to cut through things that just aren't as, or that are very big. So I'm gonna cut through both of my zucchinis. This might be a lot to put in this pan today, but that's okay. Was it hard to get all the way through the middle?
No. No.
Okay, we see everyone working. We've done enough like cucumbers and things like that, so I know you guys are getting a lot of practice after the last two episodes. And then we've done this kind of cut, I think maybe once or twice now, but we're just gonna start slicing into little half moons. So that might take you a few minutes. I try to make them, the whole point kind of with roasting vegetables, or kind of the thing you have to remember is just to try to make them all the same size. You know, whether that's big or small, it's more important that everything is a similar size so that it cooks at the same pace or rate. If things are really small, they cook very fast. And if they're bigger, they're gonna cook longer. And then it makes it just harder to know when to take it out of the oven. So as I cut, just to clear room on my cutting board, I'm just gonna start moving those moons into my bowl with the chickpeas. This is a perfect time to make zucchini because there's a lot available locally. That and tomatoes right now. There's lots of tomatoes and lots of zucchini and corn. And you could probably do a similar recipe with tomatoes and it would be really tasty too if you like roasted tomatoes. This is the type of recipe that you can kind of swap out the vegetable as the seasons change.
We have a ton of aromas. Can we add those?
Have it, what?
We have a ton of Roma tomatoes. Can we just roast those too with the zucchini?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, it's kind of as long as you can, even if you want to size up your pan to accommodate a few more things. I think we're gonna have a little crowded pan, which I think is good for things like this. But all the flavors should work definitely with tomatoes. I've been taking a lot of my cherry tomatoes and putting them in the oven. I like those with chickpeas too. Sometimes I even like to put something like this, and then I make pasta and I kind of put this up right on top of some pasta. So there's a lot of options. This is kind of a very flexible recipe. So I think I'm pretty good on zucchini because I have some pretty large ones. Gonna put the prep to the side. And let's see where we're at with the zucchini. So yeah, we've got our chickpeas and zucchini in the bowl. I think we've got a few people still working. And we're gonna, in a few minutes, we'll move to the onion, which is a little bit larger than I was expecting. So
They all in the same bowl? Sorry, it was noisy. Are the chickpeas and the zucchini in the same bowl?
Yes. Okay. Yes, you can put everything in the same bowl. Like I said, it's gonna get a little crowded. We're working with a big pile, but then we're gonna pour it all into the baking dish. And our zucchini this week came from May's Farm Market. So they're about 12, 15 minutes from downtown Evansville, a little bit north. And then our onions today came from Ryman's Farm. They're in Darmstadt. And that's why, you know, they look very earthy. These are from a farm. I went into the barn that was full of onions. And it was really interesting because onions, you pick them and then you have to cure them. So they have to kind of sit and just have like air flowing around them. And then that's actually when they start to develop their outer, I guess, layers that kind of protect it. So same thing, this onion is, once again, a little bit interesting. We're gonna have to peel back a few layers. I need more, maybe another charge bowl here. Let's see. I've got this one. Okay, so I am gonna start peeling my onion, and if you have any kind of parts that you think don't look that great, you can just peel it back to the next layer, and hopefully you'll find kind of the next cleanest layer. Sometimes you'll find some dirt between the layers, and that's just normal. That's just part of the growing process. Onions are the type of vegetable that if there's like a little bad spot, there's no reason to throw out the whole thing. You can always cut that piece off, or like I said, go down to a deeper layer. I think mine's looking pretty good. It has a little bit of dirt on it on this layer, so I'm just gonna rinse it really quick. Alrighty. So my onion's all ready to go. Like I said, it's pretty big, and we may only choose to use about half of it, just because we want to find the right ratio for our roasted vegetables. You don't want your roasted vegetables to be mostly onion. That usually doesn't taste very good. Although I do love onion. So to get started with your onion, like I said, this is pretty big, so you may need a hand. But I'm gonna just start by cutting off that little top. And then cutting off this little bottom. And then you should have a flat surface on one side or the other. And then this is kind of going to be the big cut that may be hard with the small knife. So I'm just going to cut it in half. Like I said, that cut might be hard. And it's just about going slow and making sure your fingers are out of the way, but secure on each side. And then you can lay that half down. And I think today I'm going to move forward with just using half of this large onion. You can use the whole thing, but you can also just keep the other half to use for a different recipe. So I would say that, this was probably to me a large onion, and our recipe says a medium onion. So I'm just gonna use, like I said, half of it just because the size is a little bit bigger. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm probably gonna cut, I'm gonna cut this into thirds. So I'm gonna cut all the way across here. Like I said, these are kind of hard cuts just because of the size of the onion. But this one, we're just gonna make more chunks than slices. So I've cut it in thirds across, and then I'm gonna cut it into chunks about this size. And they will start breaking apart too. And if there's a cut that's easier for you, you can always change to that. If you want smaller chunks of onion and you feel comfortable, you can do that as well. As you can see, mine are kind of in these large chunks, but they just haven't been broken apart yet, just because of the layers of the onion. Are we having some onion reactions, I see? Sometimes that happens to me. It's just not happening today, but there's been plenty of times that onions have made me cry.
Yeah, Mom. It happened to me too.
Tell her what you did.
We put a wet paper towel next to our onions.
No crying for me.
No crying. Yeah, this one's not that bad. Sometimes it actually can be with an older onion. Doesn't mean the onion's bad. It just means that
Go wash your hands. Stop washing your hands with the onion.
those chemicals that cause it to react, are just a little bit stronger, cause you to react. So I'm also going to throw my onion into that bowl with the vegetables. And like I said, I only use half. I'm going to use the rest later. Was cutting the onion difficult for you guys? I think you're still working on it, so you can tell me after.
The cutting onion is pretty hard.
Hard? Yeah, I think the size of the onion made it a little bit harder too. We always want to give you guys a chance to try it yourself. We know that it requires a parent to be around, but we definitely don't want to cut every. We definitely don't want to. We definitely don't want to do that for you, especially if a few of you are really comfortable. So we just had our timer go off because I'm actually roasting the chickpeas now so that I can show you what they look like when they're cooked.
Stay with the thing.
I'm gonna go take a look at my chickpeas while you guys get finished up. And the next thing we're gonna cut up is the garlic. So we should have the chickpeas, the zucchini, and the onion in the bowl. And then we're gonna start working on the garlic. So if you want to start peeling that, that will be the next step.
Do we use both garlic cloves?
Yep, I gave you two. And I'm using some that have like some blemishes on them. But once again, just like onions, I'm gonna cut that part off. If you have any blemishes or little areas that don't look that good on garlic, you can just slice it off. Or if anything looks bad, just throw it away. That just happens sometimes with the garlic cloves. But yeah, I'm gonna check really quick on my chickpeas because it's always nice to check in. I've been cooking them for about 25 minutes now, and we're heading for the 30-minute. So I'll be right back.
Cooking them? You're not supposed to cook them yet.
All right, they're looking pretty good at 25 minutes, so we're gonna be pretty spot on to bake for 30. And like I said, we're gonna finish up ours to get in the oven. So we'll start working on this garlic. I have a few little parts of the peel that I need to get off. And it's definitely time to also look for garlic at your farmers markets as well. This is typically the time that people harvest garlic. And garlic takes 9 months to grow. So usually you harvest in July. And just like onions, they need to kind of cure. So when you first pull out your garlic from the garden or at a farm, then you need to put it in a well-ventilated area. And then it develops kind of all of this protective outer coating on it so that it can be stored longer. So I see some people have the garlic press out or some other tools we got in the kitchen today. I am just trying to do things without any tools. So I'm gonna take off those kind of funky parts of my garlic. And then I'm gonna do some slicing. This is very small, so you do have to be careful with your fingers. I know we've cut garlic before. Just always be careful about where your fingers are at. I think I'm gonna do some slices today. And if you want to cut your slices down a little bit further and create more of a minced garlic, I see many of you using a press. So that's gonna create a minced garlic, so just small pieces of garlic. And there's always a benefit to, going down to the mince. It's just your garlic flavor is gonna, it's gonna be in smaller pieces, so it's gonna move throughout your vegetables a little bit easier. I'm gonna cut these down maybe a little bit further. All right, I've got some beautiful slices. I kind of had some big cloves of garlic. Is everyone squeezed or chopped right into the bowl? Same bowl today. Everyone's pretty smart about using the garlic press. That is an easy way to get quick minced garlic. These smells are pretty strong today, huh? Garlic is a key ingredient in hummus. I think that's what makes it taste really good. And I often do roasted garlic too in my hummus. So I'll roast my garlic in the oven before and then kind of squeeze it into my hummus. And it just creates like a little bit more of a sweet earthy flavor. All right, can I get some thumbs up when we're done with garlic? We'll be done with a good portion of our cut vegetables today. Yeah, awesome. Awesome. All right, now we're gonna season our vegetables before we put them in the oven. We gave you a good amount of olive oil, and you may not need all of it. I think we did 3 tablespoons here. So we went on the heavy side. And I'm probably gonna pour most of it in there. It's not usually bad to have be a little bit heavy on the oil, especially on roasted vegetables, because they really soak up oil. And that's why it's really good to use oils like olive oil, because they do have just extra nutrients and benefits for you. Especially, that's my favorite with roasted vegetables. There's always a reason to use different oils in the kitchen while you're cooking, depending on what you're making. And then we're gonna kind of figure out what kind of seasonings we want. So we gave you a few different options, and I'm gonna use a little bit of all of them. You don't have to use the whole packet. So we'll see. The first one, it's kind of hard to see the colors, but you can kind of see them on the outside. Let's look for the one that's the most red. You can smell it. I wouldn't put your nose too close, but you can smell it, and that's going to be your paprika. It's going to be a smoky paprika. So what I'm going to do, instead of pouring in all of it, I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit over my vegetables. If you really like the smell of that and have cooked with it before, you can put a little bit more. It's up to you how much seasoning you put on your vegetables, but I like a good amount of seasoning. So mine kind of looks like this. And then there's a few other things here for you. We have one that is black pepper. You should be able to recognize it. Smells like pepper.
Oh, yep.
And there's one other one that's going to be kind of more of a unique scent. So I found my pepper, and I was going to sprinkle some of that over as well. And this is the part that you can change depending on what your favorite seasonings are, or if you have a seasoning blend, like a garlic salt or an all-purpose seasoning. And then my last spice is going to be cumin, and that's going to have more of an earthy smell. So that might be a new smell for you all. Sometimes it's
Probably
surprising.
only it's home because I really like them.
And if you want to put, I'm going to put a little bit of that on mine as well. So that one's more of a brown color, a light brown. That's the cumin. And then I'm also going to add some salt. And we did not give you salt this time. I'm going to use sea salt. Probably just like half a teaspoon. And just, or you can just once again, sprinkle some salt. I'm using my hands, obviously, to measure. But if you're not as comfortable measuring with your hands, I would use your measuring spoon and do about a half teaspoon. Lee, do you mind taking out my vegetables? All right. Now, depends how messy you want to get. I'm going to go in with my hands, but that means I'm going to have to wash them after. But when I'm at home, I go hands in. And especially with clean hands, that's totally fine. I think that's sometimes the easiest way to mix things up. But you definitely, I see a few of you using a spoon. So I totally understand whatever you want to use. I am going to go in with my hands and just start mixing these up. For me, it's the easiest way to get some of those seasonings on all the different vegetables. But, you know, if your parent would rather have you use a spoon, or if you'd rather use a spoon, that's fine. Your hands are going to get pretty oily. But that's like my favorite part of cooking. So all right, mine's pretty well incorporated. I see most people using a spoon, which is great.
Hard to stir. It's hard to stir with a spoon.
Yeah, you're right. It is hard. And I think if we had a bigger bowl, it may be a little bit easier. Sometimes with your hands, you can actually have a little bit more control. These are the best tools of the kitchen right here. All right, and then once you're done, I am going to just pour all my vegetables in this pan. I'm going to go wash my hands really quick before I put these in the oven. All right, I'm all clean again. That was a quick wash, but that's okay. Just a little olive oil. Some people use olive oil on their skin.
It tastes delicious.
It does? What?
It tastes delicious.
What did you say?
Delicious.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I haven't tried any yet. It smells delicious to me. Oh, you're trying some chickpeas? Awesome. So I'm gonna go put this in my oven. I would have your parent or guardian put this in the oven, whoever's cooking alongside you today. And that can go in at 425. And I would recommend about halfway through to just take a look at them and mix them up a little bit. It just redistributes like the seasoning and the oils. And often when you're at that high temperature, the top can start to get brown. And, you know, when you mix it up again, then another area will start to brown. So this is going to go right in my oven. And I'm going to come back and show you.
How long do we put them in the oven for?
Yeah, so I would start to look at it at about 20 minutes. And I think I wrote up to 30. And it kind of just depends how hot your oven is. And once again, something to kind of keep checking on. I ended up going for 30 minutes. Mine are pretty roasted. So they're a little bit browner than usual for me. But like I said, this is a different oven for me at the kitchen. And it really depends. So I would look at it between like 25 and 30 minutes. And this is kind of, I put this in a little bit different of a pan, but this is how roasty toasty your vegetables are going to come out. So I've got some really brown roasted chickpeas. My zucchini have gotten really browned and beautiful. And that is my favorite way to eat vegetables, basically, is roasting them in the oven. So I'm going to put those aside for now while we make our special sauce.
My eyes are burning from all the seasoning.
From the seasoning? Oh no, you must have gotten pretty close to it. There's nothing too spicy in there. I think I still feel the onion a little bit. All right, so we've got our veggies in the oven, and we're gonna work on this special dressing. And can you guys remind me what this key ingredient is in this little sauce we're making?
Salami dressing.
Yeah, so it's pronounced tahini, and that is made out of sesame seeds. So that is a key component in hummus. It's a really traditional ingredient. You can get it at most grocery stores. It smells pretty earthy. That's why we're gonna add some citrus to it to kind of liven it up a little bit. But like I said, this is kind of a key ingredient in hummus. And first, we're going to, all your tahini is already in here. We have measured that for you. So that's 6 tablespoons of tahini. You may not need this much dressing for this recipe, but we decided to use the full amount in case you want to make any other roasted vegetables. And I'm going to have to go get some warm water. So I'm not going to do anything special to get that warm water other than turn my sink to, my sink's hot water on. You don't necessarily need to, warm any water up or anything. Typically just enough, typically it's warm enough with just the hot water setting on your sink. So I'm gonna just grab 1/4 cup of warm water. And I'll be right back because we're gonna have to install a sink for next season right here so you can see me while I do this. But I'll be right back. Like I said, use the 1/4 cup and use the slightly warm water because it helps break up the tahini a little bit. All right, and I just poured that right in. You can see it's already starting to kind of change what the tahini looks like. Kind of an interesting texture. And they do recommend like a whisk if you have one, but I'm just gonna start stirring it up. And then we'll add the lemon pretty soon. So that just made it a little bit more pourable. You can also add a little bit more warm water depending on the consistency you want. So we'll see, I might do that too. And then I'm gonna use just a different plate to cut my lemon. And you may want to just rinse your knife quickly. But then again, it's all just going right in the bowl. So you're not really gonna be cutting anything else. So you can use the same knife. And I'm gonna put the juice of the whole lemon. Like I said, it's pretty earthy. So I'm going to cut my lemon in half, maybe a little hard. Got to get through that tough skin. And then if you can, maybe cut it in quarters to make it easier to juice. That's even hard for me to do with this little knife. So, or you can start to juice it from this half. I use my hands to just catch any potential seeds. But if you see any, you can always pop them out. You definitely don't want any seeds in your dressings or sauces. Some people may have juicers. So like I said, I'm going to juice that right into my container here. We provided these containers for you so you can kind of keep the dressing after this. And like I said, I just use my fingers to catch any seeds. I don't really even see any seeds in these lemons, so they may be very small. I'm going to take 1/4 section at a time. See, a lot of you have juicers. You have more equipment than I do at home. I do everything with my hands. I always love juicing lemons. It's the best smell. It makes me want to make some lemonade today. We got someone eating lemon. The lemon is a really important part of hummus too. I do hope you guys make the hummus as well from the cookbook or from the comic book. It kind of just balances the earthiness of all the ingredients. So it's a really simple sauce, but it does require a lot of lemon juice. How is everyone doing? How are you doing, Soren? Are you juicing over there? All righty. All right, I think we're almost through my lemon. Your parent can help you get the last bit out of each section of your lemon. I just keep wiping my hands. It's always good to have something close by to wipe your hands on. And I'm gonna start incorporating that lemon juice into this as well. And you know, when you first put any new liquid in, it kind of looks funky and you just kind of keep swirling it up. And it's starting to get a little bit creamier as well. I'm smelling it a little bit just to see what it's like. And then I think the last ingredient in the sauce is some salt. I am going to put my salt in here so that I can actually measure it with you all. Now I'm gonna do a 1/2 teaspoon. Good to measure when you're making something new, especially. So I'm gonna pour my salt in. Like I said, I'm using sea salt. You can use table salt, kosher salt. And then I'm gonna mix that in.
We did sea salt.
You did what? Sea salt? Awesome. Yeah, my sea salt is pink.
I did plain salt, like Idolize.
Pink sea salt before?
Well, where's Squirrel?
Alrighty. Okay. I think I'm gonna taste a little bit of my sauce.
Grandma, the vegetables are almost done roasting.
That's pretty tangy. We're gonna see how that tastes with the vegetables. That is still pretty earthy. So I'm gonna try to even get a little bit more lemon juice in it.
And a bit more salt too.
Yeah, that's pretty earthy, huh? A little different. All right. So I've got my sauce done. And like I said, if that's not your favorite flavor, that's okay. It will change whenever you make the sauce, you know, whatever you're going to eat it with, kind of it all is supposed to work together. So first,
It's sour.
sour. Yeah. Yeah, hopefully that balances a little bit with the earthiness of the vegetables after you've roasted them. So let's see. I am going to, my pan is already, that's fine. Usually I would use I will use spatula. Hold on.
Yeah, we don't want to use one. Because it doesn't have coral. There's coral!
All right, so like I said, my vegetables are done. You might want to look at yours in a little bit just to see how they're doing in there. I am going to load some into a small bowl. Is this camera on today? So it's gonna look kind of like that, if you can see that. I can't see it, but can you see it, Kelly? Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. And I'm just gonna drizzle maybe like a little bit. Like I said, this is maybe a little thicker. I might even add some more warm water to kind of break it up a little bit more when I'm done later. Because you want it to be a little bit pourable. So it may just need some more warm water. And then I'm gonna taste it all together. I lost a piece, I think. This is pretty good. Like I said, it's a little bit sour when it's not on the vegetables, but with the earthiness of like the zucchini and the chickpeas, I think it really works together. And like I said, you might want to make a little bit more adjustments to your tahini sauce, including adding some more warm water. I think right now it's a little bit concentrated, but I am excited to see you guys try this with the vegetables. I would definitely try the vegetables on their own and then see how you like it with the sauce. And I might even have Kelly come join me and try these out. So you always got to see what someone else's opinion is. So I'm gonna have Kelly try just the vegetables. We've got chickpeas, we got a lot of onion. And then just a little bit of the sauce. And like I said, if you don't love the sauce, that's okay. The whole goal is to just try to show you guys all the different ingredients in hummus and see how you like it. So yeah, that's kind of interesting because I gotta say, by itself, it's kind of you're right, it's kind of tangy, it's kind of earthy, but all together, even the onion starts to sweeten a little bit in the oven. So all the flavors kind of change. Yeah, when the sauce is mixed in with the vegetables, I think it adds a connection. So I'm so excited. Thank you guys for joining me today. Are you guys excited to try this all together? Some of you? I hope you try at least a little bit of the sauce with the vegetables. Because like I said, I know these are all new flavors, but it really is important to just keep trying different combinations of foods. You never know what you're gonna like, and really nothing's gonna hurt you if you try it and you don't like it. So I really appreciate you guys joining me today, and I hope that you became familiar with all the ingredients that you'll need to cook hummus as well, or to make hummus as well. Do you all have any questions before we wrap up today? No, not today?
Just say it.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
I had fun making them. I can't wait to see what we make next time.
Awesome. I think we probably will try to make something sweet pretty soon. I think it's time for something What do you think?
Dessert.
Dessert.
Lasagna.
No, dessert.
Lasagna.
We want dessert. We want
Guys,
dessert.
have a great Saturday.
What?
Dessert.
Thank you.